Are you looking for more out of your life? Do you need ideas on how to start new businesses and how to move forward in your own personal life? Well, guess what? You have come to the right radio show. At You Can Overcome Anything podcast show, you will learn and hear from many people from all walks of life who are sharing their challenges, their stories, the habits, and the mind shifts they had to overcome to become who they are today. On top, you will get a chance to connect and see how you can overcome anything by networking and learning about your next move through this radio show. I present to you our great speakers at You Can Overcome Anything podcast show with your host, Cesar Espino. Hello there, and welcome back to another episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. It is your host, Cesar Espino, and today I have a special guest. His name is Marty Hofmann. He is a successful entrepreneur and a real estate investor who is passionate about helping others live their intentional lives. Over the past decade, he has completed more than 80 real estate transactions and built a portfolio worth over 16 million. He hosts the podcast Kill Complacency, where he interviews guests and encourages disciplined, intentional living. Marty also runs OKC Real Estate Investors Association, a monthly meetup in Oklahoma City that equips people with tools and knowledge to grow through real estate investing. He has been married for over 20 years and is the father of 6 children. Marty enjoys ultra running and values the discipline he has brought him in his life. It is my pleasure to introduce you. How are you, Marty?
Good. How are you, Caesar? It's
I'm
good to
doing
be
good,
here.
man. Yeah, man, definitely awesome. So, tell me a bit about your upbringing. I find it very fascinating. Like when we're adults and we have this one thing we wanted to become, right? And you create something for yourself, but it doesn't start there. I think in my opinion, it really starts from the minute that you were born and your upbringing. So, tell me a bit about your upbringing and where are you originally from?
So I grew up in Iowa. I was one of 10 kids. I'm the fourth from the top.
Okay,
So
big
at one
family.
point at one point I was the youngest. I was the middle for a while. And and yeah, there's lots and lots of stories there. But I grew up on a farm in the 80s. Farmers in the 80s went broke.
Mm,
Interest rates were sky high. It was hard. Um, I knew we were poor growing up, but I don't think I did not know how poor. And I
got
just,
it.
when you grow up in that, you don't know what normal looks like. And so we just but we learned how to work hard. My dad was really big on working hard and finding activities for us to do. There was five sons, five daughters.
Mm.
Um, and I could tell so many stories of
Yeah,
work. But
the one thing that comes to mind, like even let alone especially if you're growing up and there's challenges, right, that come about, right? You know, on a small family, that's challenging to do. But I can only imagine, being 12 of you guys, right? 10 kids and then your
yes,
parents. That by itself, it's a big challenge and a huge burden for your family and as you're growing up. So
yes.
how do you come out of something from that to say, hey, you know what, maybe I know for me, like I had my daughter at a very early age, and one of the things that happened to me growing up, same thing, didn't really have much, except I said, I don't want my kids, or my daughter in this case, I don't want my daughter to go through the same challenges, struggles, and things that I went through.
Sure.
So I gotta take a different approach, right? I could imagine that it was the same thing for you because you obviously have built this huge, massive business for yourself. But how was that about a revelation for you? Where did that come from?
I think, growing up, I've always, Caesar, I've always been self-driven.
Mm,
Um, I've always gotten up early and I've been weird that way. Like I've always just wanted to do the task in front of me. Um, so that is not an issue. And I don't know that I can say that I'm necessarily motivated by my upbringing because of that. But I would say my upbringing taught me
hmm.
work ethic and grind. And those things have translated into a lot of leverage in my adult life.
Yeah.
Um, I would say that, kind of like I said, I didn't necessarily know how poor we were growing up. I mean, there were times that we would eat brown sugar sandwiches because,
Yeah. That's all
and
there was.
we didn't know, but yeah, white bread and brown sugar. And my mom would say, "You guys eat outside today," and it was a picnic for us.
Yeah, you enjoyed it. Yeah, for
Yeah, and
sure.
so a lot of it was reframed for us that we just
Yeah.
didn't know. Um, but I would say what has shaped me probably more than anything is just showing up consistently and knowing that if you put in the time and consistently do the thing, it will result in productivity. Or, I
Mhm.
mean, if you don't, it will produce the opposite. So,
Right.
um, and I think that is something that I've learned probably just through work and growing up and showing up every day for different things.
Yeah. At which point did you decided, to kind of venture into real estate? One of the things that I would say most of the kids, growing up is like, hey, I want to be a police officer, fireman, doctor. That's the aspiration, right? And we always have the idea of being that, but becoming your own boss, being an entrepreneur, building that's not easy, right? When did you decide that that's probably the path you wanted to take?
No, I would say uh, I've even as a kid, I loved building.
Mm,
So so that was always within me, this idea to fix things. And so early in my marriage, my wife and I would drive around, just look at real estate. And we were visionary. We'd have vision for it. But I really leaned into it in 2012, realizing that I was an entrepreneur. I wasn't I wasn't going to have a regular retirement. And
mhm.
I knew that there was a thing called mailbox money, and I could get that if I could figure out the rental thing. And so 2012, I bought a duplex off the
Mhm.
MLS. It was a piece of junk.
Yeah,
Probably
yeah,
had no business doing it, but
yeah.
I knew that if I wasn't going to work at Walmart when I was 65, I had to figure out to buy an asset that would give me cash later
Mhm.
on. So
Yeah.
that was a turning point. Although I would argue that I've always like had this interest in building and fixing and making things better.
Right,
If
for
that
sure. When people think about real estate, I mean, there's different strategies, right? You talked about
Mhm.
obviously buying and holding, right? So rental properties, Airbnb, long term, fix and flips, wholesale. I mean, there's so many different things you can get yourself
Yes.
involved with. Um, from your perspective, like if somebody, and I'm sure you covered this on your associations, but from your perspective, if people are brand new into this business, right, or they want to venture into real estate investing, what do you think would be maybe an entry level point for somebody to get in and get involved? At least do something now.
I think wholesaling is the easiest way to get in.
Okay.
It's not a lot of liability. You're flipping paper. And maybe I should define wholesaling to your
Yeah,
audience.
for sure.
Wholesaling is, I mean, you know what it is,
Yes.
right? I mean, you're a real estate guy.
Right.
But it's when I find a house that's off market and I lock it up for, let's just say 100,000. And then I take and I find an end buyer who will buy it from me for 110 or 120,000. And I make the spread. People do it with cars all the time. It's the same
Right.
idea. But wholesaling is just so it's in my opinion, it's an easy entry point because you don't have to have a lot of capital. You just have to be able to use your words and use your brain, and those become your asset. And you get to translate that into money as you flip paper. So I
Yeah.
would say that's the entry level. From there, I would look at trying to hold houses
Right.
or flip houses.
Yeah.
Uh,
One of the biggest things that I hear too when it comes down to it is that essentially, even if I wanted to get to, a beat up duplex or something, or even,
yes.
a single family residence, right? Um, Nowadays, people will say, well, I don't have the leverage. I don't have the credit. How can I get into that? Or even if I had the credit, I don't have the money for the down payment, right? From your perspective, is it building a little bit to kind of get in there, or is there a way that people can get around that?
You can get around it. I, and I don't necessarily think everyone needs to wholesale.
Right,
If you have a little bit of understanding of rehabbing, yeah, go flip a house or hold a house. Ideally, you want to hold a house because that's long-term wealth, and that's what we
right,
all really want is our freedom.
right.
Um, so I think you can do it however you want, and I think the other thing people don't realize is there's so many ways to finance deals.
Mhm.
I had coffee with a guy yesterday. He's got 150 doors. And he says, every one of my deals, he says, I have the seller finance the down payment. And he says,
Mm,
then I get 80% from the bank and the seller finances the other 20%. Well, you can negotiate that however you want and you can have a cash flowing asset. But this guy, his name is John, he doesn't have, he's not, the only money he's out of pocket is his earnest money on every
Mm.
deal. So I think a lot of times we buy into that we have to have all this capital to get in, and we don't. Like, you can use your mind, you can use your words, and you can create that capital with those things.
Yeah. No, and I love that. I think you're right. I mean, it comes down to, I think this business is about getting creative, right?
Yes.
Um, you always hear this, and I do believe that too, is that, if the deal is good, the money, you're gonna be able to find the money, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people feel like, well, I don't know if I can, and I always challenge that because I think that, if you're getting into something that is gonna be what I consider to be a win-win solution for everybody, you're gonna be
Yes.
able to find it. It's just a matter of maybe tapping into the right associations, investors clubs and things like that to be able to find those people, right?
And I would also say, I mean, I've done this a long time, but
Hmm.
I'm continuing looking for capital. Um, whether it's private, whether it's through a bank, or whether it's through, a relationship. I mean, it's constant. So I never get to be like, oh, I've arrived, I got all the money. Because
Yeah,
as
right, right.
investors, right, we're always turning
Yeah,
it. We're always
exactly.
turning it.
Yeah, yeah,
And
for
we
sure.
always
No,
want more
exactly.
deals.
Yeah, OPM, OPM. Let's figure out
Yeah.
how we can get there, right? So, so tell me a bit about, what do you build, right? You've obviously done many real estate transactions. Are there more on the fix and flips? These are buy and holds. What kind of transactions have you focused, or are you focusing more so now?
Would say, Cesar, I always tell people I flip houses. And I say that because we always buy distressed. And so
Yeah,
the first thing I do is I flip it.
got it.
Ideally, I want to hold as
Yeah,
many as I can.
right, for sure.
So that's my goal, is to hold as many as I can. But I also have realized you can't hold if you don't have money.
Right.
So that's why we sometimes at the end of the flip, we don't hold it, we sell it, and we take the money and we keep things rolling.
Yeah,
So I don't want to say you can, and you could certainly maybe flip your whole, I mean, hold your whole life, but you do need some kind of capital to keep operations going. But
right.
I do, that's what I tell people is I flip houses, but we have a pretty big rental portfolio.
Yeah,
And we started the real estate meetup as well, to just to educate people and get more people out there, because I feel like our time is short with being able to buy real estate. So
yeah,
let's all
for
get in,
sure.
let's all
Yeah,
get out there and make it happen.
yeah. Are you just focusing on Oklahoma area, or do you do other markets?
I'm just in Oklahoma City, is
Gotcha.
my primary market. Yep.
Got it, got it. So, tell me a little bit about what are some things that people should be looking at, right? It doesn't matter whether you're in your own backyard or different markets, right? Like, what are some of the bigger, I guess, indicators for me to look into whether or not I want to get into that market, or maybe if, let's just say I'm wholesaling, right? I'm getting started because I'm sure a lot of people that come into your OKC Real Estate Investors Association, I would assume maybe that the vast majority are people that are trying to get into the business, right? And so, if you were to give somebody here three things to look for when you're wholesaling, right? Or what would that be? Those
Well,
indicators.
yeah, and I think I would probably just have a conversation with ChatGPT or Claude and
Mm,
say, talk to me about my schools, talk to me about my jobs. Do we have job growth, and do we have population growth? Because if you have people and you have good schools, then real estate's going to move.
right.
Um, People are drawn to those things. So you could look at medium household income, because
Hmm.
that's gonna give you a driving number on where your rents are. But you can go deeper too, and you can look at what rental ratio is in your area.
Yeah,
Um, you could just do a quick Google search, but I would just encourage people, like, use those AIs, because they're super good at data. That's really what they are, is data.
yeah,
And have a conversation with them and ask them how your zip code is, or where the best zip code in your state is, and
yeah.
and then niche into that.
Yeah, I love that because I'm sure that when you got started, at least when I got started, we didn't have we didn't have those resources, right? It was a little bit different, right? To
In
get
your
to,
backyard, your
yeah,
backyard was your farming area,
yeah,
and
exactly.
you made it.
Yeah,
I still think that works, because
right,
that's the best area, and
right,
and if
right.
you know that area the best, then I mean,
Yeah.
when there's a deal, in 10 seconds.
Hmm.
I mean, I had
Yep.
one yesterday. I immediately screenshot it, sent it to my realtor, and said, lock this up.
Yeah. Nice.
I didn't read the whole ad. I just knew square
Right.
footage, pictures look good, kitchen's good.
Yeah.
This is the deal.
Yeah, no, I love that. That's awesome. So t talk to me about your podcast, Kill Complacency. I love the name of that podcast, and definitely the message too, right? So let's talk about that because I do believe, I mean, I have here in my notes too, and I love this, but anyone can kill complacency, and everyone needs to in order to live a successful and fulfilling life. So talk about that a little bit about the overall idea of that because I do believe that it comes down to that.
And and I think you know this too, but what I realized is as I became successful in real estate, and I don't mean to throw myself under the bus, but
Hmm.
Caesar, I don't feel like I am the smartest guy out there, the most deserving. And and I realized that if I can do it, then I should help other people do it because they can most certainly do it. And
Right.
so that's what the message was about when we started. And we realized that the enemy is complacency.
Mm,
So complacency keeps us where we are, keeps us small, keeps us limited mindset. But intentionality, the compound effect of intentional choices, can have a ripple effect on our family, on our neighborhood, on our country. And so that's what the podcast is about. It's about learning how to kill complacency and be intentional with everyday life so that we can make our lives better and our lives of our family better. And we interview people who are killing it and
yeah,
who are living intentional.
for sure. No, I love that. You talked about also as you were growing up and you've always been this, grinder, you've been disciplined, you had all this. So talk about the things that you yourself, right? Even right now with your family, you have a pretty big family too. How do you find time, number one, to continue to stay ahead of the game, and to have this discipline, right? I think Tony Robbins refers to them as rituals, right? So those daily disciplines, things you have to do.
Yes.
One, how do you find the time to do that? Number two, what are the things that you do on a day-to-day basis?
One thing I would say is we all have about 168 hours a week. I think
Mm,
that's right. And I would argue a lot of us will say we don't have time.
yeah.
And I would challenge anybody that says that to grab your phone, open it up, and look at your screen time per week or per day, and you'll find that you probably do have time. Um, so that's something I do every Sunday. We open it up, we share it with our family members.
Mm.
Our weekly time. I always win, Caesar. I always have the most time.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
But when you measure something like that, you
Yeah.
realize, what measure gets results. So you realize I can do better. And then you carve out time. So something else I would say I do to be intentional and do all the things is I track habits. I have an
Okay.
habit tracker and I track those things religiously and we do the things because we know if we show up and we do the things, if I'm committed to make 3 offers this week and I make 3 offers, I'm probably going to buy, 20 houses this year
Yeah.
just by making 3 offers. And
Yeah.
it just becomes something you do. And the advantage of tracking and that whatnot is you don't drift. And I read a book years ago called Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill's famous for
Hmm.
um,
Think
Think
and
and
grow
Grow
rich,
Rich.
right?
And this is the last famous book, but he interviews a devil, and the devil in there, it just says, if I can get people to drift, I've got them for life.
Mm,
And so that's what I would say. If we can just be a little bit intentional with the things that are important, faith, family, fitness, finances, whatever. If we can be a little bit intentional with those things, track them, find out how we're doing, man, you can move mountains. You can do anything. You can impact the world.
yeah.
Um, but if we don't, dude, it's so easy just to drift, right?
Right. Yeah.
And scroll on the phone and watch TV and waste, I would argue, waste our life doing things that don't matter and don't ultimately bring fulfillment because we know better.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, I think you hit something very important too, and it reminds me too, like back in the day, you know, things are changing a little bit, not so much, but you have these people that are in their 20s, right, or even in their mid 20s, late 20s, and one of the things that I hear a lot about from them is, I still have plenty of time, right? And then on the flip
Mm.
side, I'm coaching or talking to people that are in their 50s or 60s, and they're like, I wish I had more time, right? And is this one thing that we don't realize, and I was actually talking about it with somebody else just this week, Time is going by so fast. If we even think about right now, right? 2026, we're already in the middle of, March, right? Before we know it's going to be April, June, July, and before you know this year is gone, right? And the biggest thing is that complacency. People complain about my life is not getting any better. Things are not changing. And then I question and I challenge that. It's not changing because you're not changing, because you're not making the effort, right? To create something, to take action, to do something about whatever it is that is, putting you in a bad spot. And so again, I love that message. I think you're right. You have to be intentional. You have to create something that is going to move the needle just a little bit. I like the idea, like, hey, if I need to make three offers today, if I want to get into real estate investing, I want to start wholesaling, then I need to start looking at X amount of houses per week so that I can make an offer, and hopefully by the end of the month I get one, my very first deal or something, right? But creating that, and then I love the fact that you're measuring everything, even in your personal life.
Have
Like
to.
that's huge. That's awesome.
Yeah. You have to. Otherwise, you never know. And you think that you made three offers, but you realize I haven't made three offers for 3 weeks. But when
Yeah,
you measure it and you look at it and you're like, oh, I didn't make any. I mean, making offers aren't hard. Like
right,
sometimes you get to Saturday and you're like, well, I guess it's the next three houses that pull up on Zillow.
right.
And you push send and you make an offer. And I did that once and I got a house. I
Oh,
mean,
that's awesome.
it
Yeah,
was a
right.
30 or like a 20% discount. And they
Yeah,
took my offer. And I was like, whoa.
yeah. Oh,
So
that's
you never
awesome.
know. Like just make the offer.
Yeah, yeah. No, I love that. So tell me a bit about your RIA, right? You essentially have people, you bring speakers. Are you the one? Tell me more about that dynamic.
Ever been to a RIA?
I have.
Yeah, yeah. So kind of the same reason I just wanted to help people do better.
Hmm.
We started a RIA. We actually bought out the OKC RIA
Okay.
a year and a half ago and kind of took over that. So that was because we had started and it was fine, but we got a lot of there was things we got with that list and whatnot.
Hmm.
But it's all about we always have one speaker per month, and then it's more about networking than anything
Yeah.
because information wise, like I can bring in a speaker, but we have YouTube, right? you,
Right.
you can learn anything you want online. So
Hmm.
I'm not necessarily going to educate people a whole lot. I do try to bring a speaker in because that draws people, but the biggest thing we try to do is connect people with people and network and help people share contacts because that's what really helps you find deals and gives people free mentorship. So
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
that's that's what we're really focused on. I think more than anything is trying to help people network.
Well, and the other thing too with that, there's a lot of joint ventures that can be taking place too, right? You know,
Yes.
I might not have the time, but I might have the money, or vice versa, right? And,
Yes.
and so, or we're both new to this. Let's do it together. So, we grow together, we learn together, right? So I love that idea of that. So what's next for you, Marty? What is next on the horizons for this year?
Yeah. So something I'm doing right now, I wrote a book. I'm getting
Mm,
ready to send that out. It's called Kill Complacency,
okay.
and it's all about what we're talking about. So that's the next big thing on the list for me. That's the next thing that's challenging me. I've
Yeah.
never done that. I have very limiting beliefs in regards to being an author, but I've embraced those and we're leaning in and we're doing the
Good.
thing.
Yeah.
And so that'll be coming out probably mid-April,
Okay.
maybe 1st of May.
Yeah.
Um, Otherwise, we're always looking at businesses to buy or real estate deals. Uh, I never know what those look like, but
Yeah.
I've got these businesses on the side that we're continuing to grow and maintain. But yeah, the big thing right now is that book.
Got you.
At least
Well,
that's stretching
well,
me.
no, that's going to be exciting, and I can tell you also, taking that leap to in 2018, doing real estate and then try to come up with books too. It has been a game changer for me in terms of being able to going back to what you're doing, helping other people and giving
Uh,
people ideas, and more so for me is the idea of how can I give back. Like
yes,
you said,
exactly.
I'm just like you. I don't think I'm the smartest guy in, and if I can share a little bit of the things that I've done, or maybe you can learn from my mistakes and make you better, hey, I'm all for that. So I think that's a really good thing you have going on there, for sure.
When did your book come out? When did
This
you
one
write
came
yours?
out 2000. I did this in 2019. 2019.
tell me about your book. Tell me about the process.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Just a little bit of that. I mean, it was one of those things where I was actually at I'm a big believer of RIAs
Mhm.
self-development
Education.
events
Yeah.
specifically, right? And I was at a self-development event, and I had this idea of, what if I write a book? And it's funny because we're kind of talking about this. One thing that happened to me when I came up with the idea of writing this book, I talked myself out of doing it because we do this all the time in our lives. So I literally was having this conversation. I'm like, hey, Caesar, who are you kidding? You're not a writer. Nobody is gonna read your book or buy your book. Heck, when you were in high school, you didn't even like English class. So why even bother? And I literally talked myself out of writing the book. And, I'm like, all right, this is just a dumb idea. 3 months, 4 months after that, I went to this self-development event and I got very motivated. I'm like, you know what? What about if I do something different? And this is a lesson that I've learned too, is what about if I change the way I see things and I change the framing? Who cares if nobody buys my book? Who cares if I'm not a writer? What about if I do this for myself? What about if I do this for my daughter so that when I leave this place, I can leave something behind for her? So I'm gonna do it for a self-accomplishment. So now I change the framing of that. And the same thing in life. Sometimes we gotta be able to see things from a different perspective, with a different point of view, and change that so that you can move forward. And so when I changed that, man, within 3 months, I'm like every day. I'm old fashioned, so I was like, I will write down on my journal, like I gotta write, at least 10 pages, right? And so I'm like, yep, every day. So I was writing. Then the days that I didn't do the 10 pages, I'll go back and say, okay, I only did 8 pages, so now I gotta do 12 pages because I gotta make up for the last ones. I was able to finish my book within 3 months from that. Way sooner than expected. Send it over to the person that was helping me do the publishing of the book and the cover and all that stuff. And Yeah, I got it published, and uh, I got to tell you, it was one of my best, I would say, moments in life because I was getting messages from people that are like, I didn't even know these people. Like your story, your book has impacted me in such a way that I'm now making changes. There was this one guy that I met in social media. He's like, "You inspire me to start writing poetry books." Now he's done like 5 books, and so I was getting all these
Wow.
things. And so for me, it was more the aftermath of seeing and hearing and getting the reviews of people saying, "You impacted me. You helped me out." And so that's my faith. So to be able to do that. So yeah, it was an amazing. Definitely the process of going through it, learning, remembering who I am and why I started doing all this. That by itself was huge. And then getting people to give their feedback, it was something that I can never forget for sure.
It's powerful. And the cool thing was how you reframe that because you had very selfish, limiting
Hmm.
beliefs.
Right.
And when they became about your daughter
Hmm.
and impacting other people,
Right.
you were willing to embrace that and change the
Mhm.
world.
Correct.
So,
Yeah.
so yeah, I think, and maybe another message to your audience is try to reframe things so they're not all about you.
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
make them about other people. Your fitness, make it about your grandkids,
Hmm.
or your finances, make it about your kids. Like, I mean, we talked about that earlier. Like,
Right. Yeah.
you
Exactly.
you try to do things better because you wanted your daughter to have a better life, and
Right. Yeah, exactly.
that's
And it comes down to that. And that's one thing that I've learned is like, sometimes we're thinking about something and because you don't believe in yourself. I think it was Les Brown that said this. And he said sometimes your belief in yourself is limiting you, that you need somebody else to believe in you to grow, right? And it's
mm,
true, right? Sometimes you don't believe in yourself, but let's find a different purpose. Let's find a different reason, and I think from that something can be born, right?
yes,
And so to me, I've seen that a lot, and even with people that I talk to, is sometimes we limit ourselves because we're so complacent, because we just don't believe in what this can do for us. And I'm like, well, what about if you start reframing that? Because whatever you're doing is not working, right? And even if it was working, what about
yeah,
if it can become better?
yeah,
Exactly.
yes,
So
yeah, that's so powerful. And I think that, I mean, our message is very much aligned with just wanting to make the world a better place and helping people do more by reframing and and doing the thing. Like, 90 days you wrote a book because you tracked it every day.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
if you
Exactly.
didn't hit, you made it up the next day.
I did. Yeah.
But you had a plan and you reverse engineered it and you showed up
Hmm.
every day
Hmm.
and you wrote a book that's how many copies have you sold?
Oh man, this one I have no clue. It's my very first one. I mean, even I did a book release party, which was pretty successful in my opinion. I mean, my very first book release party, but it was nice to see all the people come through, and I still remember like when I had this big old line of like maybe 30 people just waiting to get the book signed. Right, it was pretty awesome. Um, don't even know the book count, but from this here, this has given me other opportunities, right?
Sure.
It's giving me the opportunity to get on stage and speak on stage. So indirectly, it's given me a lot more opportunities. And then, as they say, the rest is history. Now I'm 25 books into my belt now, which is pretty awesome.
25.
25. And my
Wow.
books have been a bestseller in the US, Mexico, Canada, and Australia, which is pretty awesome. Yeah.
And just going back, like, had you said no,
Oh,
like,
exactly.
think about the amount of lives that have been changed and
Hmm.
generations and family legacies because you wrote one book
Right.
and
Yeah.
it opened up doors and windows for you, but also for other people. I mean, this guy you talked about with poetry, like,
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
so, so
Yeah.
yeah, to your listeners, like, lean in, do the hard thing because
Yeah. 100%.
you don't know what's on the other side. Like,
Yeah.
it's beautiful. If we don't,
Yeah.
we can we
Exactly.
can we can see what's going to happen in 5 years if we don't change anything. We're going to get
Yeah.
fatter and poorer and
Right.
regret.
Exactly. And I gotta tell you, this is actually pretty awesome. I like the alignment here. So your podcast, Kill Complacency, and your book, Kill Complacency. I did it the other way. So I got this book first, You Can Overcome Anything. And I said, well, what about if I do a podcast that has the same name that I can bring people like you from all over the world so that I can
Sure.
now spread that, right? And so there's definitely a lot of alignment there, which I love.
Yeah.
So is your book going to be available on Amazon?
It'll be on Amazon. Yep.
Okay,
We'll have
yeah,
it.
for
That's
sure.
that's
So a
where we're
couple of
doing it.
months from now, we'll definitely let people know about that. If people wanted to know more about your RIA, connect with you, know more about the things you have going on, where can they find you?
If you just my handle's just Marty Hofmann.
Okay.
MartyHofmann. I also have the website's killcomplacency.com.
Okay. Awesome.
Um, we made this thing last week or 2 weeks ago. It's called it's a complacency test, and well, it has to do with where you score on your 7Fs. But
Okay.
if they go to killcomplacency.life, they can fill out this kind of like a self personality assessment. I mean, it's real fun. It takes 4 minutes,
Awesome.
but it's kind of fun to do if you like that sort of thing.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
but yeah,
Okay.
I'm on most of the social channels, but it's Marty Hoffman, one F, two N's.
Gotcha. Yeah, because normally sometimes there's two. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. Yeah, we'll definitely have that on the show notes for sure. And my last couple of questions for you, for the people that are listening, we've already talked about a lot of different things, what I consider to be golden nuggets, a lot of things that people can start doing now. Let's see if we can get one more out of you. For the people that are listening to us and are watching us, if they're going through any challenge, whatever challenge that might be, what is one thing that they can start doing now to overcome that challenge?
I have an accountability group every week, and we had a similar
Mm,
question last week, and the question was something like, "What would your body do if it was a CEO of your life?" And overwhelmingly, what we decided we would do is we would go to bed early. So, Caesar, I know
mm,
that sounds maybe simple,
yeah.
but I believe there's huge compound effects of getting good sleep and then allowing ourselves to get up in the morning and create when our willpower is the strongest, creating those daily rhythms. But a lot of times it starts with going to bed at a decent time so that we are our
Mhm.
best version of ourselves in the morning.
Yeah.
So,
I love that. I love that. And I think the only thing that I would add to that, which I do love, and I used to do this too, going back to kind of like the discipline. I used to, you hear that a lot, right? Your phones and things like that, right before you go to sleep, don't do any of that stuff. It was intentional about when I would go to bed, I would read at least 10 pages of a
Yes.
either self-development or self-help type of book. So you're trying to get into real estate. Hey, start learning about a little bit about real estate. If you want to just get better in your life overall, there's a lot of books. Napoleon Hills has a lot of great books. I'm actually reading one of his another book right now too. So things like that, right? And so I will be intentional about instead of watching, either TV or listening to music or even being on my phone, I would be intentional on either reading and or I would journal all the things that I accomplished today and then what I wanted to do tomorrow, right?
I journal every night too. And it becomes that routine that almost puts you to bed, right? Because
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
when the pen goes back in the folder and in the journal and you close it, it goes in the nightstand and it's like 10 seconds and I'm out.
yeah,
But it's
exactly.
because of the rhythm. My
Yeah.
body knows.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, definitely. No, well, Marty, that was great. I love that. And like I said, simple, but sometimes simple things are the ones that make the biggest headway, and people don't see that because of that, because they're simple. And
Yeah.
so, thank you again for all of the golden nuggets and for this conversation. I really enjoyed it. Any last minute things you want to say before I let you go?
Yeah, I do. I want to say you're to people, you guys can do anything you want. Set your mind to it. Caesar's a living example of this. Like his backstory and where he is today. Like lean in, do the hard thing. Don't be afraid. Don't buy into your limiting beliefs and do the hard thing because hard things compound into great things. So that's what I would like to leave with your audience.
I love that. Well, thank you again, Marty, for being here. Really appreciate you. And for the rest of you guys, do me a favor. Go ahead and check him out. Go ahead and follow him on his social media. Go take that assessment test for fun. And then also do me a favor. Share this message because I know that somebody definitely needs to hear it. And I'll see you guys on the next episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Cesar Espino, real estate investor, business coach, and consultant, and author of the book, You Can Overcome Anything, Even When the World Says No. My number is 424-501-6046. In my book, I talk about making the necessary changes to shift your mind for prosperity and certainty. Pick up your copy at Amazon. I also love helping families with their real estate and can purchase your house fast and all cash. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. My number is 424-501-6046.
Thank you for having me today. I am so glad you've tuned into this podcast. You can find me at your favorite podcast platform where you can like, subscribe, comment, and share. And to learn more about myself, my services, you can find me at www.cesarrespino.com, or you can also find me at your social media. Thanks for joining me, and I am looking forward to having you at the next episode. And know you truly can overcome anything.